Hello muscle car lovers, Ron here. Welcome to Ron's Muscle Car Garage. Today I'm going to start a series on building my 568. I got to thinking about it and I thought, you know what, rather than overwhelm you guys with a lot of information, I would cover specific things that I think are very important for your builds. So let's do this. Let's talk about valve train first. Now on my 568 I run a Manton tapered push rod. I believe Manton makes the best push rods. I mean, I've had great success with them. And the taper it's real good for rigidity. You know, there's no real big flex in it. In fact, the base of this push rod that I run is 1/2 inch, huge. And then it's 3/8 towards the top where it goes up through the head, up to the rocker arm. If you're going to select custom made push rods, which you may have to, I would suggest going with Manton. So, that being said, what is rollout? Now rollout is the rocker arm as its roller is on the stem of the valve and how far it moves across the valve as it's going up and down. That's called rollout. Now, rollout should be held at a minimum. So I want to talk about this today in this video. I have friends that they basically take a motor apart, put it together, they never even check the rollout. They just put stock length push rods in place. Now, you can get away with that if everything is to standard specs from the factory. But even then, I wouldn't trust it. I would want to check it. So what I do when I build my motors is I get a set from a friend. He has many push rods of different various lengths. And on a big block Chevy, you've got a short and then a little bit longer one for your exhaust and for your intake. But I get, for each one of those, the exhaust and the intake, a series of 4 to 6 different length push rods that are within the range that I'm looking for. And why I do that is rather than take an adjustable push rod, because they do make those, I find that, you know, taking a physical one, there's no room for error. If I get the right one and I get the rollout I'm looking for, I'm happy. I can place my order if it's a special order where they're going to be custom built, which in this case this one was. Then I will get a great push rod that's built properly at the right length. Now, it's all about the geometry too. So this camshaft, and we're going to talk about the camshaft in another video, and it has 744 thousandths of valve lift. As that valve is opening and closing that movement that much, that roller on the top that drives that valve is moving up and down, as I mentioned, and that has to be geometrically correct with the push rod that's forcing it up to push the valve down. So if you look at it this way, if we have too long a push rod, we're going to roll further across the stem of that valve, or if we have too short of a push rod, we will roll across that valve incorrectly, not on center, and then also too much rollout. So those two things are taboo. So we've got to make sure that we have as minimal as possible rollout. This engine has 60 thousandths of rollout. And how I know that is that I mark the stem of the valve with a black marker, and then I mock everything up, one cylinder, and I roll for both the intake and for the exhaust. I roll the engine over a few times just by hand, and I have the actual springs in there too, because that holds pressure down and that leaves a tip of that roller actually leave a nice mark. And then I can actually take my calipers and I can measure the clean area on the top of that stem where the black marker has been removed. I have seen it where it's moved quite a bit, and of course that would indicate that your push rod length is not correct. So there again, we are basically mocking it up to test which push rod length is correct for this application. There's reason that you'd have to do this, especially in an aftermarket situation like I have one time bought a set of heads. Well, those heads had been shaved down quite a bit, 100 thousandths to be exact. Of course, you couldn't put standard push rods in there at that point because it would be way off. I remember a friend of mine doing this where he put standard push rods in and he had a race engine and he couldn't figure out why his tips of his valves stems were getting all blue and black because of the heat. Well, it's because that roller was just rubbing across there just constantly every time it was going up and down. So it's critical that you have the right length. And also it's critical for more horsepower, because the less movement you have, that friction, you wouldn't think it would be much, but that can rob you of horsepower. We're talking small amounts, but it's a fact. It can hurt you. You want to make sure that your precise engine, your race engine, is precise, and this is a way we do this. So I just wanted to cover that. Hope that is of help to you guys. If you have any questions or comments, leave them in the comments section below. I'll be happy to answer them if I can. Thanks for watching, and until next time, like I always say, keep on working on them, because they're never done.